We're 2 weeks out from Election Day, and already the establishment media are declaring that we won't know the results that night. They're claiming that we might not know the results for days or even weeks after election night. They are claiming, in fact, that it is normal not to know the results of the election on election night. And that is news to me, and that's probably news to you too. Because we used to know the results on election night pretty much every time. How is it that the most powerful democracy in the history of the world can no longer count its votes on election night? I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Democrats are really scraping the bottom of the barrel in these final couple weeks here. Tim Walz, Kamala's running mate, is insulting Trump by insinuating that he's gay. We're bringing back elementary schoolyard taunts from the man who is supposedly pro-LGBT and who, in fact, put tampons in little boys' bathrooms. We'll get to all that in one moment. First, I want to tell you about Coin. Go to Coin, COIGN.com. We do not have to wait until Election Day to start taking back our country. We can get in the fight right now with Coin, the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions to the left like other credit cards, Coin advances conservative values, causes, and charities. Imagine the satisfaction of earning cash-back rewards while fighting the lib agenda. Coin works everywhere Visa is accepted and comes with 100% US-based customer service and consumer protections. Not to mention, it's a great-looking credit card you will take pride in using. It's bright red with We the People on the front. I am telling you, this is how we fight for the future that we want, one swipe at a time. Get woke out of your wallet and start shopping with America's conservative card. Apply now at coin.com, COIGN.com. And then, this is very important, be sure to select DailyWire in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. Right now, COIGN.com, select the Daily Wire. It's normal, says PBS, it's normal not to know the official results on election night. Here's why. And then you get this really long, dumb article about why everything you've ever known about elections didn't really happen, and it wasn't really true, and these are not the droids you're looking for. No, it's normal. They're not just saying, this is how we do things now. They're not just saying, yeah, there might be anomalies. It's a weird election. You know, they swapped out the Democrat candidate and the Republican candidate almost got murdered twice. And so it's pretty weird, man. Or even, it's COVID and they changed the rules. No. They're now telling us not only is this how we're doing elections now, but it's normal. Oh, yes, we've never known the results on election night. No, those are all false memories you have. For every election in my lifetime, other than, I guess, the contested 2000 election, which went all the way up to the Supreme Court, back when we were told that it was patriotic to contest the results of elections, before we were told it was an insurrection and a threat to democracy and akin to the behavior of Adolf Hitler. Other than that one election, when the Democrats tried to overturn the results of the 2000 election, take the White House away from George Bush, other than that, we always knew the results on election night. I'm not that elderly. I'm a relatively youthful fella. And so I'm thinking of all the elections in my lifetime. 92, people knew the results on election night. 96, 2000 was, Democrats tried to overturn it. 2004, we knew the results. 2008, we knew the results. 2012, 2016, even we knew the results. Then, of course, they changed all the rules. And in 2020, they stopped the vote counts and it went on for days and weeks. But now I guess they're saying even before this election takes place, yeah, we're going to pull that stuff again. America, we are told, is the most powerful democracy that has ever existed. We can't conduct elections in a timely manner. Why? Well, according to PBS and according to all the lib outlets that are telling us, prepare, you're not going to know the results. We have to figure out how many ballots we need before we'll tell you the results from the states. That's the subtext. Before that happens, we were able to conduct the elections. So why? Because they say we have new technology, we have new procedures, we have a new way of doing things. Okay, if the new... Of course, they've been trying to do that. They've tried to imprison him 4 separate times just in this election season, and they've justified his assassination, which has nearly been carried out twice. That's the only conclusion I can come to. I try never to ascribe to malice that which is equally explained by stupidity. But what's the explanation? What wasn't so long ago we could conduct elections and know the results on election night. What's the argument for changing all that? The libs are getting very nervous. That's what's going on. They're getting nervous. You don't have to just believe me. There's a story out in The Hill. The Hill is, a sort of left-wing, center-left outlet. The Hill is asking, what if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along? This is an op-ed. I think a lot of Democrats are wondering this now. What if Biden, even demented as he was a better candidate than Kamala Harris? I argued that from the beginning. From the beginning, I said, swapping out your candidate this way is just bad. It looks bad. It looks like you have a crisis of confidence. Kamala Harris has never won a primary vote while she was running for president. She's a deeply unlikable candidate. She was chased out of the 2020 race before the first primary votes were cast. She only got the job, according to Joe Biden, she only got the job because she's a black woman. And he was backed into a corner and demanded to pick a black woman. And it was either her, Susan Rice, or Karen Bass. And the latter was a communist. The middle one was the fall man for Benghazi, so it had to be Kamala Harris, but she was really unimpressive. Now, the LA Times won't even endorse Kamala Harris. The LA Times endorsed Joe Biden. You're going to hear the libs say, well, the reason the LA Times won't endorse is because it has new ownership. Got new ownership in 2018. LA Times endorsed Biden in 2020. Why won't LA Times endorse Kamala in 2024? Because she's a weak candidate. She's a weaker candidate than Joe Biden. Joe Biden knows it. Joe Biden said it the whole time, and then Joe Biden was pushed to the side anyway in a palace coup. Joe Biden doesn't want Kamala Harris to win. Obviously not. Nobody really seems to like this lady, which means that this is a test. This election is a test to see if democracy still matters. You know, Joe Biden said democracy is on the ballot, and he said that to imply, well, I guess he said it explicitly, that Donald Trump's an existential threat to democracy, which justifies his assassination. But democracy is, in a sense, on the ballot. Not because I'm saying Kamala Harris is, this unique existential threat to the country or anything like it. She's just so obviously unpopular. Trump is so obviously doing well. The polls all look great for him. The issues all look great for him. The sympathy generated in the campaign looks great for him. Everything looks great for him. If Republicans can't win this election, I'm not sure we can win elections. I'm not sure it matters how popular a candidate is anymore. I'm not sure that we really live under the same kind of regime that we lived under for a long time. That's what it means to say democracy is on the ballot in 2024. By all rights, Kamala should pretty much have no chance in this election. The fact that we're wondering if she'll make it, the fact that so many people are saying, look, if it were a fair election, Trump would obviously win, but who knows? PBS and the liberal establishment are already telling us we're not going to get the results until what? Until we assume the Democrats can find all the votes they need to push this woman over the edge. It's not just Kamala that's awful. Walz is also awful. Tim Walz, stumping desperately in the final days of the campaign against Trump, decides to insult former President Trump by insinuating that he is a homosexual. Take it away.
Everything he does is fake. Next, he's going to be telling you he's a cop or a construction worker because he dances to the Village People, so he knows the YMCA. And I'll tell you this, though, that 5 minutes he stood next to the deep fryer, I'll guarantee you that's the hardest that guy's ever worked in his life.
He listens to the Village People. You get it? I'm calling him a big fat. Isn't that funny? Hold on. Look, childhood taunts are kind of funny. It's funny when children say them. It's not really funny when overgrown children like Tim Walz say them. But that is the insult here. Make no bones about it. The insult here, when he says Donald Trump, he dances to the Village People. He's saying, Trump's, hey, you're a big dumb. But hold on. I thought it was good to be gay. I thought Tim Walz was pro-LGBT. I thought Tim Walz founded the Gay Straight Alliance back in the 90s when he was a high school coach. It's a little odd, but he did that. He did that anyway. Then he put tampons in the boys' bathroom when he was governor of Minnesota because he thinks that some boys need tampons. I thought he was the pro-LGBT candidate. But you scratch a little bit below the surface, and he is more than willing to use gay as an insult, which is true of so many libs. It tells you so much, not just about Tim Walz and Donald Trump or whatever. It tells you so much about the LGBT activism broadly. Is you scratch these guys a little bit, and they will use gay, LGBT, as an insult. Whenever they insinuate that their critics are homosexuals themselves, they're obviously not complimenting their critics. They're using that as a term of injury. Why? Because they are acknowledging, even the LGBT activists are acknowledging that it's not ideal. So the next time anyone accuses the Republicans of homophobia or transphobia or this phobia or that phobia, play that clip of Tim Walz. Play that clip of any lib insinuating that a Republican is a homosexual or a transsexual or a pansexual or whatever sexual as an insult. They mean the exact same thing. It's just that the conservatives, when we suggest that we shouldn't trans the kids because it's not good for them, it's not a desirable identity to have, at least the conservatives are being honest and sincere about it. Earnest. The libs, just being nasty little children. I'm done with it. You know what else I'm done with? I'm done with debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. If you're one of millions of Americans being crushed with financial stress, the solution is donewithdebt.com. Unlike some of the other guys, Done With Debt has created new strategies designed to get you out of debt without bankruptcy or loans. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, and stop penalties. They have a plan to put more money in your pocket month 1 and every month until your debt is gone. And the best news is that Done With Debt is accepting new clients right now. But you need to hurry because some of their debt strategies are time sensitive and you do not want to miss out. Let Done With Debt hit the debt reset button for you and make your money yours again. Again, this is time sensitive. So you need to visit donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 right now. I think that was the year of the Great Schism, 1054. Chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. Go to donewithdebt.com. That is donewithdebt.com. Now, I've got something historic for you folks. I have got the historic first ever fall seasonal candle from thecandleclub.com. You got to put the in there. Thecandleclub.com. You go to the Michael Knowles collection, you can get the Apple Orchard. Beautiful seasonal offering that will make your home smell like a fragrant, delicious apple orchard. Or you can get the pumpkin spice latte candle. That's a wonderful one. My personal favorite, the Wise Man. Makes your home smell like a 12th century monastery. Or you can get Crème de la Crème, if you're a member of the Crème de la Crème, the member circle here. You can get Old Soul. You can get the Mayflower collection of candles, which are in really nice colored glass cases, or I guess glass cases of color, we're supposed to say these days. You can get it all at thecandleclub.com. It is historic. Speaking of historic events, Kamala Harris has just been asked by NBC News about the historic nature of her candidacy.
You've been reluctant to lean into, to talk about the historic nature of your candidacy on the campaign trail. Why is that?
Well, I'm clearly a woman. I don't need to point that out to anyone. The point that most people really care about is, can you do the job? And do you have a plan to actually focus on them?
I hear you on
and that is why I spend the majority of my time listening and then addressing the concerns, the challenges, the dreams, the ambitions, and the aspirations of the American people.
The historic nature of her candidacy? What is historic about Kamala Harris's candidacy? She's the second woman to be the Democrat nominee for president? What's historic about that? She's not the first. Hillary Clinton was the first, and she lost. She's right now looking likely like the second woman to be beaten by Donald Trump while running for president. I guess that what is historic here is actually Trump's candidacy. That Trump could be, again, I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, also because the Democrats have so many shenanigans, but right now, according to the polls and the political winds, Donald Trump could be the man who defeated both future first woman presidents, which is very funny. You know, I'm beginning to see why maybe why Joe Biden had to win in 2020. It was to give President Trump the opportunity to defeat both future first woman president, shatter the glass ceiling, smash the patriarchy, I'm woman, hear me roar, I'm a tough boss girl, or whatever. You know, Trump had to be the figure because that's the funniest way that plays out. Other than that, I don't see how this is an historic candidacy. And so Kamala's running away from it. You can hear in the answer, she doesn't want to talk about being the first woman because she is the DEI candidate. Because it's a little too real, and people don't like affirmative action picks, and they don't like DEI candidates. But Joe Biden called her a DEI candidate. It's not just me who's saying that. Joe Biden said that diversity, equality, and inclusion pervades his administration all the way up to the office of the vice president. He decided to pick a black woman just for being a black woman before he ever thought about picking Kamala Harris. So by leaning into the historic, supposedly, nature of her candidacy, Kamala's admitting, yeah, I'm not particularly qualified, but I have the right genitals. So, and maybe they're implying some racial aspect to it too. So I got the right genitals, I got the right skin color. So that's why my candidacy matters. Has nothing to do with my accomplishments, of which she has basically none. Has nothing to do with her policy vision, which is neither clear nor popular. Has nothing to do with her popularity, which is non-existent. It's just because she happened to tick a few boxes on the DEI form, and that's how she ended up where she is, according to her boss, Joe Biden. Maybe a good reason. I actually agree with her not to lean into that historic candidacy. Though I don't want to let the white men of the Democratic Party off the hook. Tim Walz is exactly as unimpressive as Kamala Harris is, maybe more so, because Tim Walz is also just plain vulgar. Tim Walz, campaigning, decided to go after not just Trump, not just J.D. Vance, but also Elon Musk.
Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dip on these things. You know it.
Elon Musk, he's walking around, skipping like a D-I-P-S-H-I-T. I'm Tim Walz. Now, which it's kind of a funny line. If, I don't know, if Dave Chappelle had said that line, Bill Burr or somebody. The reason it doesn't work when Tim Walz says that line is, well, you can see it in the ad that the Republicans started running immediately afterward, which is that audio on top of Tim Walz skipping around like a D-I-P-S-H-I-T.
Jumping around, skipping like a dip. Jumping around, skipping like a dip. Jumping around, skipping like a dip. Jumping around, skipping like a dip.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work when you exhibit those behaviors. You even see it with the schoolyard taunt at the top. Tim Walz calls Trump gay. That can be funny in a vulgar kind of way, in a crude kind of way, but it can be funny. It's not funny if you're the guy who put tampons in the boys' bathroom in the elementary schools. It's not as funny. It doesn't really land when you're the guy who begged trans kids to come to your state to make Minnesota into the windowless white van of the Midwest because you want to care for the poor trans kids because you're so pro-LGBT. Then it just doesn't work. And you can't make fun of a guy for jumping around like a D-I-P-S-H-I-T if you yourself have exhibited that same behavior. It also doesn't work if your campaign is predicated on restoring some dignity and seriousness and adulthood and maturity to the White House. This Donald Trump, he's a vulgarian. This Donald Trump, we can't have any more years of this vulgar, boorish, chaotic, mean tweeting. But these people are at least as vulgar as Trump, and I think they're much more vulgar than Trump. I think President Trump is following, Emily Post's Guide to Etiquette to a T compared to these people. The attacks just don't work. Now, Speaking of Elon Musk is making a great point on the campaign trail. Not just about the opponents, not just about how they look or how they act or anything like that. He's not even just making a point about this election. He's making a point about the systemic problems going on in the country all the way down to the classroom, all the way in the way that we educate our next generation, which we'll get to in 1 second. First, though, I want to tell you about First Liberty Institute. Go to supremecoup.com/Knowles. Let me tell you about a looming threat to our constitutional republic that the mainstream media won't cover. The radical left is plotting a Supreme Court coup. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. These progressive ideologues want to eliminate the court's conservative majority by packing it with their own hand-picked justices. Here's the frightening part. If one party controls the House, Senate, and presidency come January, they could restructure the court overnight. This is Venezuela-style court packing. It would spell the end of judicial independence and the rule of law as we know it. First Liberty is leading the charge to protect the Supreme Court from this radical plan. They're fighting to preserve the legitimacy of the court and the separation of powers that safeguards our freedoms. Don't let them Venezuela your United States. Go to supremecoup.com/Knowles. That is Supreme, COUP.com/Knowles to learn how you can help stop the left's takeover of the Supreme Court. The future of our country is in your hands. Check out supremecoup.com/Knowles today. Elon Musk is warning, especially young Americans, but American parents too, who have young American kids, about a major problem that's going to affect not just one election cycle or two election cycles, but generations. And it's the crisis of education.
I also think that like the value of a college education is somewhat overweighted, you know, and I think it's too many people actually spend 4 years, accumulate a ton of debt, and then often don't have useful skills that they can apply afterwards. And I think I have a lot of respect for people who work with their hands, and we need electricians and plumbers and carpenters, and you know, that's a lot more important than having incremental political science majors. I think, you know, so I think we should not have this idea that to be successful you need to have a 4-year college. That is simply not true.
Okay, he's right about everything he said, but that's only half the story. It's actually the real situation is much worse than Elon Musk says it is. Because it's not just that college grads no longer have useful skills. The deeper problem is that college grads no longer have even useless skills. Because the point of college, we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need tradesmen, we need engineers, we need businessmen, we need medical doctors, we need lawyers, we need all sorts of people who do a trade and who do jobs, of course. That is not the purpose of a university education. Now, I guess in practice it is. People go and they major in something really technical or practical, and they go and they take out a lot of debt because they hope it's going to get them some job someday. That's not really what university education is for. That's not what liberal education, the liberal arts are for. Actually, liberal arts education is to teach you useless skills that will ultimately be extremely edifying and in the long run, quite useful in your life. But it's not to teach you how to be a carpenter. It's not to teach you how to be an electrician. It's not to teach you business. It's not to teach you how to be a doctor. It's not to teach you how to be a lawyer. It's to teach you the liberal arts. It's to teach you how to make sense of your freedom. It's to expose you to a lot of dusty old books and the great cultural tradition. It's to help form your soul. It's to help you be a better person and to be a happy person. It's to teach you what happiness really is. It's to cultivate virtue. It's to teach you that happiness, in the words of Aristotle, in the Nicomachean Ethics, which is one of those dusty old books that people used to read in university, that happiness is rational activity in accordance with virtue conducted with excellence. That's the point of university education. It's to read dusty old books and to think about abstract mathematics and to ponder the heavens and think about human nature, what it means to be free, how we really can be free, to shake off bad vices. Now in universities, we just basically cultivate all these awful vices. It's to cultivate virtue. It's to be happy. It's to be in command of your freedom so that you can learn how to do a job, so that you can learn to be an electrician or a plumber or a doctor or a lawyer or a whatever. That's the point of it. University education is not necessarily for everyone. Historically speaking, it was really just for a relatively small group of people, because not everyone totally needs it. Not everyone's going to, be as adept at it as other people. And also, your time could be better spent doing other things and cultivating virtues in another way. But there was university education for the people who did want that. Now that barely exists. That's the problem. So college costs way more than it ever has and way more than it should. It doesn't teach you any useful skills. It lures you in on the fair premise that if you get a 4-year college education, you might get a good job. And it is true. It's predictive of making money down the line, though the cost of that is very high now and the quality of the education is much lower. But kids are told you got to go to a 4-year college to get a good job. So they take out $200,000 in debt and they go to college. They don't learn any useful skills. But the tragedy that Elon's missing is they don't even learn the useless skills. They don't get anything for it. Unless they go to a handful of colleges, I'm thinking of places like Hillsdale, Franciscan, Ave Maria, maybe Thomas Aquinas College, maybe Liberty, maybe, a handful of places that still take that somewhat seriously. Maybe at the really elite schools, maybe it's possible to still get a proper education, though it's increasingly difficult. A lot of times you're funneled into gender studies, half-am studies, this stupid studies, that stupid studies. So you don't even get that. And you end up spending 4 years cultivating vices, losing virtues, being filled with a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense that will damage your life down the line. And also, you don't know how to do anything practically. It's even worse. I'm like the conservative optimist. Elon here is the conservative pessimist. Says things can't get any worse. College is as bad as it could possibly be. I say, no, it's actually even worse than you think it is. Now, speaking of the poorly educated, Kamala Harris has just been exposed for plagiarizing at least a dozen sections of her book. This by the great Christopher Rufo, who has exposed a lot of plagiarism on the left in recent months. Kamala has this book, Smart on Crime. It's a book, obviously, on criminal justice. There's an investigation conducted by Dr. Stefan Weber, a famed Austrian plagiarism hunter who has taken down a number of politicians. And Chris just posted a handful of examples here. But you can see on the left-hand side, you've got in red and in yellow here what Kamala Harris wrote. And then on the right-hand side, you can see a Wikipedia page entry with the same red highlight, the same yellow highlight, basically just cut and pasted. And many, many other examples from other sources that she stole from, other reports, but even Wikipedia. I'm not saying you shouldn't consult Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be a fine place to start, but then you got to read books. Then you have to read scholarly articles. Then you have to maybe do some investigation on your own. But if you're copying and pasting Wikipedia in your book and you're an attorney general, a U.S. senator, vice president, and you're running for president, that is weak. That is really tough stuff. And this is a tough scandal for Kamala. It's a tougher scandal for Kamala than it would be for other politicians because it confirms a weakness that many people already expected. Namely, that Kamala doesn't know anything. She's a contrived candidate. If it were Trump, if Trump somehow got caught in a plagiarism scandal, which he hasn't, but if he had, I don't think people would really bat an eyelash because people don't think of Trump as really seriously writing his own books or, obviously the guy's got speech writers and book writers and all sorts of, the guy's been a media mogul, top business mogul, and now the president for many, many years. But we know that Trump knows what he believes. We know that Trump writes a lot of his own speeches because he just goes off the cuff. He doesn't have prompters a lot of the time. He doesn't have notes a lot of the time. So people attack him for what he's saying, but you can believe what he's saying is coming from the heart. With Kamala, has she ever said anything off script? Do we know what she believes about anything? What does she believe about crime? This is the book, Smart on Crime. Okay, does Kamala think we need to get tougher on crime or we need to go weaker on crime? If you're a Kamala supporter listening to the show right now, do you have an answer to that question? No, because when she was AG in California, she talked like she wanted to get tougher on crime. Then when she was a U.S. senator, she talked like she wanted to abolish prisons and bail the violent rioters from the George Floyd riots out of jail. So which is it? We just don't know. Kamala Harris, on drugs, does she want to legalize drugs, decriminalize drugs? Does she want to get tougher on drugs? As AG, she wanted to get tougher. When she was senator running for VP, she wanted to get looser. Kamala on fracking. She want to ban fracking? Does she want to expand fracking? She said both. Kamala on the border. Does she want to get tough on the border? Does she want to open the border? She's said and done. She's said both things, and she's opened the border, so she's contradicted what she said. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what she believes. She probably doesn't know what she believes. It's a bad scandal because it just underscores what we all already know. Still, some people want to vote for her. Like Liz Cheney, former fake Republican Liz Cheney, wants still, even after all the failures, to support Kamala Harris. And she does it because she just personally hates Donald Trump. Because she got into a personal battle with Donald Trump, and Trump won, and Trump got her booted out of Congress, and she's out for personal revenge. She is now, in order to obtain that revenge, she is contradicting every principle she ever even pretended to hold to stump for Kamala Harris to get back at the mean orange man who kicked her out of Congress. And so she doesn't have much of an argument to make here. So her argument is that you should vote for Kamala, even if you disagree with her on life, even if you disagree with her on the economy and migration and foreign policy and transing the kids and this and that and this and that. You should vote for her because you wouldn't hire Trump to babysit your kids.
If you think about how you conduct, your life outside of politics, how we all conduct our everyday lives, those are the kinds of people that you trust. Those are the kinds of people you can work with. Like if you wouldn't hire somebody to babysit your kids, like you shouldn't make that guy the president of the United States. I mean, that's pretty basic.
I wouldn't hire any guy to babysit my kids. That's the most obvious weakness of this argument. Would you hire a guy to babysit your kids? I would not hire a guy to babysit my kids. That's weird if a guy is babysitting. Girls babysit. We're very confused now. The Democrats are obviously confused, and Liz Cheney appears to be a Democrat, so she's confused about what marriage is. So she's confused about what a man is and what a woman is. I guess it's no surprise that Liz Cheney thinks that it's normal to hire a guy, a man, to babysit your kid. But that's not the thing that men do. That's more of a thing for women to do. So according to her argument, really, most people would only ever vote for a woman president. Does babysitting your kid, does the ability to babysit a kid have anything to do with being the president of the United States? It seems to me that if you're a good babysitter, you would probably be a terrible president. Because babysitters are really nurturing. They're really nice. They're good at preparing snacks. They can read stories. They can roll around, I guess, a little bit, maybe on the floor with the. If you're the president, you have to negotiate with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, and you have to outfox the people who are trying to assassinate you. And you have to, I guess there's, in that way, I guess there's a similarity because sometimes little kids can really be tough on the babysitters. But other than that, there's really nothing to do with it. This is real weak. And I think it is the best they've got. If Liz Cheney could say, you got to vote for Kamala because she's better on the economy, she would be saying that. Or because she's better on this issue or that issue. Or because she's more competent. Or because she's more accomplished. Or because she's more this. They've got nothing. The best you could say is Kamala Harris would be a better babysitter. And I see no reason to believe that that's true. Kamala Harris, I don't really mean this as a personal knock on her. She doesn't have kids. Maybe she didn't. I don't know if she tried to have kids. She did. Seems like she didn't really want kids that much. She's a career woman. Okay, that's fine. Some women are career women. Not everyone's called to have kids. But I actually don't even see a compelling argument that Kamala Harris would be a better babysitter. Certainly not a better president. Get ready, folks, because in 5 days, the decade's #1 grossing documentary is coming exclusively to DailyWire Plus. That's right. Am I Racist, starring Matt Walsh, is arriving on Monday, October 28th. Making a movie and getting it into theaters across the country is a monumental and costly endeavor. We are doing the work. We're doing the work, just like Matt told us to do in that workshop. But we can't do it without your support. Head on over to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code DEI for 35% off your new membership today. My favorite comment yesterday is from Devin Rossi, who says, vote twice as hard because the Dems will be voting twice as often. Very true. And there's some people who are really black-pilled here, real doomers. They say, well, who cares? We shouldn't vote because, they're going to rig the votes. They're trying to rig the votes. They are trying to rig the votes. You're right. So we shouldn't vote. We should just give up. But what good is that going to do? Well, then we won't be giving credibility to the system. Oh, well, okay. And then they'll just win anyway. And then what? Then you can complain? Or then you can feel high and mighty because you didn't ever fall for it? What? They're not omnipotent, guys. They're not omnipotent. If they were omnipotent, if they had this election totally in the bag, they wouldn't be campaigning this desperately right now. They wouldn't be throwing spaghetti at the wall like this. The Democrats obviously believe there is a chance, a pretty significant chance, that they lose. That is good. That's why you got to go out there and vote. Vote real hard. So Liz Cheney is helping the Democrats. Meanwhile, a Democrat has just announced that she is joining the GOP. That would be former member of Congress, former presidential candidate for the Democrats, Tulsi Gabbard.
And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace.
Here we go, baby. Welcome, Tulsi. That's great. I love it. Come on in. The water is warm. I think this is fabulous. I really like Tulsi Gabbard. I think this is fabulous. Some people, you're going to hear some malcontents who can't take yes for an answer, who must seize defeat from the jaws of victory, who complain about this. And they're going to complain that welcoming people like Tulsi Gabbard into the party, or who knows, maybe Bobby Kennedy, he's not a Republican yet, but maybe he would become a Republican, that will be bad for us because it will water down what it means to be a Republican. The tent will become too big. It'll all fall down. There's always a risk. There's a risk to anything in life. However, you don't actually have to choose between having a big tent and having ideological purity and philosophical consistency. You don't have to do that. What you can do, I think, is seize on opportunities to make new friends. Politics comes down probably in a more fundamental way, even beyond ideological disagreement. It comes down to friends and enemies. It comes down to your allies and your opponents, people on your side, people on the other side. We could seize the opportunity to make new friends and then guide those friends more deeply into conservatism. We've all been there, haven't we? Maybe not all of us. Some of you out there have been rock-ribbed since the day you were born. Some of us got a little squishy. All right? At certain points, I've been a little bit squishy. I've been a little, look, I was a libertarian at one time, okay? I've called myself fiscally conservative, socially liberal, all this kind of, I'm so embarrassed of that now. I feel such shame. But people go through those phases, especially if you come as I did, as many of you do, from a liberal culture, in liberal places. You start to say, wait a second. First thing is, wait a second. Maybe government spends too much money and wastes money. Wait a second. Maybe government's not totally fair. And you kind of fall into a fashionable libertarianism. And then maybe you say, wait a second. Hold on. Maybe there's something deeper going on here. Wait a second. Maybe the way that we talk about liberty is not quite right. Hey, wait a second. Maybe human nature is a little different than the libs tell us that it is. Hey, wait a second. And you kind of move more deeply into conservatism. It's kind of like the Milton Friedman to Thomas Aquinas pipeline. You start out and it's all the kind of big government's bad or whatever, and then you say, well, why is it bad? Well, because it actually misunderstands justice and it misunderstands human nature, which means, there is such a thing as justice, which means there has to be a just lawgiver to create the just laws. And there's such a thing as human nature, and man is made in the image and likeness of God. And that means that we're reasonable and we can know certain things. But it means that our reason is a little bit broken in this fallen world. And it means that, we're not actually fundamentally individuals, who fell out of a coconut tree, to quote Kamala Harris. We're actually a political animal. We're a social creature. So actually, there is such a thing as the common good, but it's not what the libs tell us it is, and it's not even what the libertarians tell us it is. It's actually this other thing, and then before you know it, you end up to the right of Attila the Hun. That happens. And so I think, okay, if someone like a Tulsi Gabbard is still in those early stages over here, but she's manifestly become more conservative than she was 5 years ago, how about we encourage her? How about we bring people over? How about we recognize politics as the art of inclusion? And recognize that politics is also the art of the possible, the art of the second best. And we just start to kind of do stuff with the real people that we actually need in this historic world to get anything done. How about we do that? I say, welcome, Tulsi. Glad to have you. This is fabulous. The water's warm. Come on in even more deeply. The shallows are fun, but when you come into the deeper part, it's even nicer. Come on in. Love it. Now, speaking of the Democrats switching sides, people like Bobby Kennedy, he's not a Republican yet, but he just made one of the greatest posts I've seen of the entire campaign. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is a long one. I'll try to read it quickly. He says, fast food is part... No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make... He's got a medical condition. I don't mean to make fun of that. Fast food is a part of American culture, but that doesn't mean it has to be unhealthy and that we can't make better choices. Did you know that McDonald's used to use beef tallow to make their fries from 1940 until phasing it out in favor of seed oils in 1990? This switch was made because saturated animal fats were thought to be unhealthy, but we have since discovered that seed oils are one of the driving causes of the obesity epidemic. Interestingly enough, this began to drastically rise around the same time fast food restaurants switched from beef tallow to seed oils in their fryers. People who enjoy a burger with fries on a night out are not to blame, and Americans should have every right to eat out at a restaurant without being unknowingly poisoned by heavily subsidized seed oils. It's time to make frying oil tallow again. I love this so much. Some of you know I've been on a little bit of a jihad against the seed oils. I always thought that hippy-dippy, crunchy stuff was insane. Sweet little Elisa got into it, and I got to tell you, as she's cooked with all the nicer, fancy oils, with the college-educated eggs and all the rest of it, I do feel better. I feel I'm dragging a little bit less. You actually, it turns out when you eat good foods, you actually feel better. That used to be the left-wing position. Now it's the right-wing position. More evidence of a realignment of the parties, which is bringing people like Tulsi and Bobby Kennedy over. But specifically here, the beef tallow. I think it's kind of funny because Trump just did this whole thing at McDonald's. It's a great campaign stunt. Bobby Kennedy here saying McDonald's is really terrible because they switched from tallow to seed oils. Well, this is Hegelian. This is a dialectic. Obviously, you have the thesis, McDonald's is delicious. Trump loves eating Big Macs all day. You have the antithesis, which is Bobby Kennedy saying that seed oils are evil, used in the fries at McDonald's. The synthesis is, we need our beef tallow back, baby. And it's really delightful because this has been a meme. The seed oil thing, a lot of people don't actually even really care about seed oils or whatever. They don't know anything about canola oil or whatever. But it's a meme. It's the kind of joke and posture that we imitate because we see it in people that we admire, and it's an indicator of a political side and of a realignment, and it's kind of funny and it's kind of fun. And we are mimetic creatures. We imitate each other. And the internet meme, that little meme magic, some people call it, has made it now all the way up to the presidential level with Bobby Kennedy pushing this and Donald Trump serving up fries at McDonald's. I love it. That kind of a realignment, I think that's very healthy for our country. It can help make America healthy again. It can help make America great again. We have no member block today because speaking of fries, our producers have fried the control room. It was actually probably the Democrats sending that digital heat-seeking missile to stop me from talking about election shenanigans. But in any case, very sorry to say, no Membrum Segmentum today. We will be back with that tomorrow. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. See you then.
The question everyone in America is asking,
am I racist?
Make those moves.
Get a DailyWire Plus membership to see Am I Racist?
This is all I have. Did you want to?
I can help you guys out.
Yeah.
Go to amирacist.com and sign up now.
I've been told because I'm a white male, kind of at the top of the pile, how do I get down from the top?
I don't think you necessarily can.
How do we get past all the talk about racism?
We have to love each other.
Well, it can't be that simple. How do we get to a point of racial harmony? It's good to talk to you. We're still on a journey, all of us together.
I think you got some journeying to do.
Just talk to me about the statistics. We have an epidemic.
20 million crimes a year, 6,000, 7,000 hate crimes. No, there's no epidemic.
Why are we talking about statistics? This is not a matter of statistics.
Well, you asked me about the statistics.
Am I Racist? Coming to Daily Wire Plus on October 28th. Rated PG-13.